All right. Hell yeah. What's going on, y'all? It's Corey Ryan Forster. You're about to listen to the WellRED podcast. Let me fade this bitch out a little bit. Sorry, I just got some new audio equipment, and I'm having too good of a time. DJ Lewis is on this episode. The only reason that I'm talking right now is to tell you we had a couple instances where some people fell off the live stream, and so there's a couple like little glitches, but it's really not that big of a deal. I don't even know that you would notice it, but I always feel like it's better if I warn you, so then it will be like even less jarring. So anyways, that's all that happened. There's just a couple instances where like DJ's country ass goat internet didn't work, and then Trae also did. Oh, my music went away. Hold on. There we go. And Trae fell off too. But anyways, you probably won't even notice it. Hey, please, before I go, remember to pre-order me and Trae's new book, Round Here and Over Yonder. I'll put the link in the description of this podcast, but also you can just go to CoreyRyanForster.com or TraeCrowder.com. We're about to plug all our stuff, so I'll be brief. I'm going to go. DJ Lewis was here. It was a wonderful episode. I love y'all. Don't be mad about a couple glitches. Okay. Peace. See ya. And fade. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the WellRED podcast. If you're joining us on YouTube, you notice that we've got a guest. Not that we need a reason to bring DJ Lewis in. I think it's always a good time. It's always a ratings popper and a chart topper, having the butter gumption himself here. The reason that I did want to bring DJ on is that the comedy community. What, Trae?
Nothing. Butter gumption. That's fine.
Is it? Yeah. That's what it says.
I like it. Yeah, that's good.
It fucked me up, I'll be honest. I thought I said something wrong, and I was like, no, I'm pretty sure.
No, I just hadn't noticed that until you said that. That's
yeah,
that's precious.
It's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
We recently had a loss in the comedy community. Cousin Ricky Peardon died. Now, a lot of y'all don't know who that son of a bitch was. If you're tuning in from Chattanooga, you probably do. But I didn't want us to get sad. I wanted it to be a celebration of life. And Cousin Ricky comes from, as DJ was pointing out to us on text yesterday, he was sort of the end of an era with fellers. So I wanted to have DJ on to share some stories about Cousin Ricky. But before we get too sad and whimsical and jerk ourselves off in the past, I believe that does Gravy Baby have a live show coming up for Patreon people?
We do. July the 30th at 7 o'clock Eastern. If you are a part of our Patreon, you can have access to that live stream. It'll be me, DJ, and Carmen, as always. We're going to have a special guest, I hope. And I'm going to run a set that I'm going to do on TV like a week later. But it's going to be a variety show. And also, just to plug the Patreon in general, there's, bonus episodes and pretty normal stuff. But also, DJ's got this project. Trae's already been a part of it. It's about the movie Deliverance. DJ, I don't know if you want to tell people about it or not, but he's putting stuff up about it on the Patreon, and it's rad.
Yeah, I just want to tell you that a lot of people really, and we all joke about, what Deliverance is about, but I think people really forgot about it and what and the effect that it's had on water conservation and stuff like that, and just like who James Dickey was and what this part of the river and what this part of the wild is.
Big water conservation to kill DJ.
Huh?
Did you
froze
get
up for a second there, buddy?
So, okay, can y'all hear me right now? Because
yeah,
so this is what's been happening.
Yeah,
there's a son bitch that's been going around here fucking with all the cell phone towers.
What he's gonna say, I think, is that Riverside always does this to him.
Oh, really? Did we discover that last time and I just forgot?
Well, it's not just Riverside. There's somebody up here fucking with the cell phone towers.
Okay.
For real.
Is it a cryptid of some kind? Some sort of Sam's plant?
Yeah, very, very possible. Very possible. This is like
Boogie Woogie Bud or whatever that that ain't even close to right. What's the name of the thing up there?
Boogie Woogie Bud.
It was Boogie Woogie Bud, regardless of what it was. The Boujun.
Anyway.
The Boujun.
The Boujun. Yeah. He
Yeah,
getting into
Yeah, the
shit.
boogin.
I'm more of a fan of Boogie Boogie Butt. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can check out DJ's efforts to conserve water and use it as an allegory for the movie Deliverance, is what I heard over on the Gravy Baby Patreon. They've also got a live show going. Trae, where are you going to be this week? You're traversing the continent, aren't you?
Kentucky, back
right.
near my old stomping grounds, about an hour away from where I grew up in Bowling Green, Kentucky, home of Cage the Elephant, not far from Salina, Tennessee. First time I've ever done a show there. So we'll see how that goes. I believe it'll hit. Then Lexington and Louisville after that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like all over the place, and over the course of the next like 10 days, Omaha, Des Moines, Kansas City, Hartford, Connecticut, and upstate New York, all in like the coming 2 weeks. So going to be busy. Then a lot of other places after that. Go to TraeCrowder.com. Check it out.
Word, and you can always grab stuff from me over at parttimefunnyman.com. Well, Cousin Ricky died. That sucks. That's not fun at all. Me and DJ, and I'm just now finding out that Drew, you never had a run in with Cousin Ricky.
I didn't either.
No,
That blows me away.
I think he quit right as. I think he quit, or maybe not quit, but stopped coming around the catch or whatever happened.
Yeah,
like literally right before Trae and I started moving through those parts, because I'm trying to think of how to say this. You guys kind of started talking about him like he was dead before he died. Like, I guess because he quit stand up and that's how brains work. Yeah. But y'all weren't doing that when we first started hanging out. It would be like, oh, Big Ed, Cousin Ricky. So, like, I think he must have just quit because y'all weren't talking about him like he quit yet.
Well, but DJ, didn't we start like around the same time? I think you started before me, but not much before me, right? Didn't you start? When did you start? 2009?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it had to have been. Yeah, open micing it? Yeah, at least. Yeah. I think about Well, Corey, when was it?
Well, you may, Trae, have started going to Chattanooga before me, but just to be clear, I'm talking about when I started, perusing the circuit, not when I started.
I'm just saying, I feel like he must have been around and whatnot when I first started going down there and stuff, but I just never crossed paths with him.
For sure.
I remember y'all talking about him, but I don't.
2009 sounds about right for when I picked you up for your first open mic DJ. And I only say that because 2009, I would have been 21 years old, I think. So in my brain, because I remember in my brain, whenever I picked you up for your first open mic, I was already a hardened veteran. You know what I mean? And which
so you could have been 17.
Yeah, right. Well, no, I didn't have my driver's license at 17. I was driving then, so like I would have had to been in my 20s. But yeah, I guess I forget about like there's so many like different like sub eras within the comedy catch. There was my brief life before DJ Lewis, which that don't hit. Cousin Ricky was there. I mean, he was one of the first dudes that I seen him at the bar and I was like, holy shit. Like Cousin Ricky and Big Ed were these dudes that like we all thought were famous just because they were headlining. I can't talk to this. And I remember I went up to Cousin Ricky at the bar and I asked him for advice. Like, hey man, I'm just starting out. What advice do you have for me? And he was drinking a beer and sitting there and he goes, right, fucking right. And then just, carried on with his day. But for those of you that don't know who he was a staple at the comedy catch, but he never like officially quit comedy. He just would only do things when he wanted to do them. Like, and we never could really understand that about him because we all knew him to be the funniest motherfucker that ever lived, but he seemed to not give a shit if anyone else knew that or if he went anywhere with that. And that was just like, only now in my older age am I starting to understand a dude that had priorities outside of comedy. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah. I mean, before he was doing comedy, he was huge in the ironworkers. He was union man. He had a great job welding. I mean, he had a life, rode bikes all around the country. Like, he was truly the blue collar comic of blue collar comics. He was truly that person.
And that actually is what, I mean, to hear Ricky and Ed tell it, that's kind of what Big Ed and Cousin Ricky were like actually pretty huge in the South. Like they were doing a lot of shows and doing great. And then Blue Collar came along, and like I'm pretty sure Ricky like he was about to do like a Comedy Central Presents or something, and Blue Collar popped off, and they're like, "Yeah, we've already got 4 of these." So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That ain't it.
No,
No,
that ain't it.
no.
Yeah, I was going to ask
No.
y'all. I thought I remembered some kind of story like that. Something like that happened. So much of it's about timing and whatnot. But I guess if he truly didn't give too much of a fuck anyway, then I mean that's better than the alternative. You know what I mean? Somebody that gives very much of a fuck would kill themselves after something like that happens. But he was probably just like, well, suck my dick, man, or whatever. But I just found a Facebook event from 2014, April of 2014, created by Big Ed Kaler, that was billed at the Comedy Catch as being it says this is a Cousin Ricky's bye-bye to comedy, hello to the open road show is what it said on there. That was April of 2014. So if that helps jog any memories or anything.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely by 2014, dude. I was coming around the Catch like a lot by 2014, but I still I never ran into him. Saw Big Ed all the time, but there's no Cousin Ricky.
I guess that's when he decided he was gonna retire from ironwork or some shit, or retire from everything and just ride his Harley across the world. I'm so upset that y'all weren't here for this, but like. I know that DJ will agree with me. The hardest that me and DJ have ever laughed personally was we were doing do you remember when like the town of Ringgold became actually like worldwide famous for like a 3 or 4 day stretch because of that fucking tornado that came through?
Mm-hmm.
So the Comedy Catch had decided we're going to do a benefit for the tornado victims, right? And of course, as comics, all we're thinking is like, that'll be a big show. A lot of people want to come to that. We can run our new shit. This will be awesome. Well, it just happened to take place on the same night that hometown legend Lauren Elena was in the finals of fucking, what was it? Not America's Got Talent, the first one.
American Idol?
American Idol. Yeah. So literally nobody shows up. I mean, not nobody. Like there's probably, I don't know, 10 to 12 people there. They've got comics from Atlanta, Birmingham, Nashville. Michael's like, we got to get the best of the best from everywhere. There's like 20 comedians going up to do 5 minutes or whatever. I'm talking eat shit. It was fucking brutal, dude. And like,
was it like members of the community, like the mayor, or was it like victims, or like what's going on in this crowd? The 8 people that were like there, who were they?
It was like 6 people who got free tickets. I said it was like 6 people who got free tickets. Yeah. Probably nobody that was affected by the storm at all. Just motherfuckers who just
trying to paper the room for a fundraiser is pretty hilarious. You know, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And not being able to pull it off, mind you.
That's so funny, dude.
Yeah.
Couldn't get anybody to come for free.
And dude,
I shouldn't have lived there if I didn't want to get blooded over. Goddamn. Like I ain't giving them my money.
So this is not like some of the Comedy Catch nights we were involved in where like, well, it was a bunch of shitty comedians up there. There were some really good comedians. Like Tim Murray was there. Like I remember like everybody's good, but they're going up and they're just fucking eating shit. And we're all in the back like, I ate shit. Like so now it comes time for Ricky. And we're like, okay. And Ricky was one of those dudes if you're not in the comedy world, I guess the only way I explain this, well, he was a comics comic for the Catch, at least. Like he's the comic that no matter, like people aren't going to be taking their cigarette breaks during Ricky shit. They're going to run back in to see what this motherfucker's going to say. Ricky had blown out the last candle on his give a fuck cake, a long time before this. Ricky gets up there, and mind you, this is a benefit for people who have died from a tornado. And Ricky gets up there, and the first words out of his mouth was, God damn, there's more people trapped under rubble than are at this show right now. We're dying in the back, and the audience fucking loved it. Like, he was the only person that had the wherewithal to be like, why don't we talk about this shit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then he started talking about how whenever a tornado comes through and don't fuck my house up, I get on top of the roof with a broom handle and just start fucking it up. And I call the Red Cross. And he just does this whole fucking thing about how hard it would hit for him had his house gotten hit by a tornado because he needed a new deck. And just like every comedian in the back, who again, we're all good comedians, is sitting there going, how the fuck did he just pull this off when we all just went up there and ate shit? And that was the type of dude he was.
Yeah, that was definitely, he was, man, dude, that motherfucker, he was just so fast on his feet. There was nothing that,
I don't know how else to ask
on
this.
and off the camera. That was so crazy to get introduced to comedy like that and get introduced by somebody who really was that working class hero, who was that son of a bitch. And man, goddamn dude, he had still some of the best bits I've ever heard in my life. Like,
what's your favorite?
The identity theft.
Yeah. Is that still on YouTube? Because if it is, I might post it in this let me see if I can look that shit
up.
That
would be great.
Where we at?
I was gonna
14:35.
I'm a victim of identity theft. I just found out this week since I've been down here, some low-life bastard has stole my damn identity. He is now Cousin Ricky running the rank. But I don't care. That prick don't know it yet. All he did was screw up his credit. He's got a paternity suit on him in 5 different states. That bastard owes $71,000 in damn back child support. I hope they put his ass in prison. I can't tolerate a son of a bitch don't take care of his kids, can you? And the son of a bitch is not a good citizen either. That bastard ain't paid his income tax in 11 damn years. He might want to just shoot his fucking self, but he can't legally buy a gun. Moral of the story, if you want to steal somebody's identity, don't steal the damn comedians. I'm one canceled gig away from being a pauper.
I was going to ask y'all, like, you said he's about to do a 30-minute thing. Blue collar becomes a thing, and they're like, oh, never mind, we're good on that. Was he like, how subversive was he? Was he just like a really, really funny one of those dudes, or did he kind of like take the piss out of that whole thing at all?
He definitely both. Like it honestly reminds me a lot of like kind of, you know, what you've always said, which is like Ricky was, and DJ can back me up on this. I mean, I don't know many people smarter than him. Like just straight up, I don't know many people smarter than him, but he was always like, this is also how I sound. You know what I mean? I'm fucking smart, and it's not my fault if when you hear this accent, you assume I'm dumb. That's on you, brother. And I kind of think that he used it as like a tool, like kind of like how we say we do. Like, well, nobody's going to expect this to come out of my mouth, so here. He wasn't like super, super political, but like I don't think anyone could watch a Cousin Ricky set, even him saying some dumb redneck shit and leave going, that's just a dumb redneck. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you find it, then obviously play it. Will one of you remind me of the joke Ron White tried to buy off of him? Because I only remember the punchline, but I also remember loving it. Do you guys remember that about the ghost?
Shit.
But the haunted trailer?
Yeah. The haunted trailer. He's talking about, he's like, I'm the only sumbitch that's got a haunted trailer. This damn thing was brand new. Only thing I can figure is that the sumbitch who built it slipped, died, and has been ruining my fucking life ever since, or something like that. Like,
he slipped off the roof.
Yeah.
That's what's so crazy too, man. Is like, and I can't even express how much it's like it was wild to see. Like, cause man, dude, I'd see fucking Ricky go up there and fucking just burn it down. Like, better than anything I'd ever seen before. Like, better than any special that was out there. And you're like, how is this guy? How is he? And then, you know, he did some talking head stuff for like CMT and stuff like that. But
yeah, he was big on CMT for a while.
Yeah, hung out with the Whites, like Jesco and Mamie and them, knew them. Did like a bunch of stuff like
Steve Irwin.
Yeah, with Steve Irwin. Yeah, dude, it's wild. Wow.
He used to have just.
Did you say Steve Irwin?
Yes, and he had bits about Steve Irwin. He had bits about Steve Irwin before Steve Irwin died that he used to do. And then when Steve Irwin died, like we were at the catch that night, and of course Ricky already had 10 on him, but like CMT had Steve I think Ricky and Steve Irwin met each other at the CMT Awards or some shit. And they became really good friends because,
the crocodile hunter.
We've always said it like Steve Irwin was, well, we hadn't always said it about Steve Irwin, but Australians be kind of rednecky. You know what I mean?
Bogan. I mean, his accent and his haircut was called the Bogan accent and haircut in Australia.
Yeah, so I think that they just they got on like really good. But yeah. But my point is, like, Ricky was doing all this cool shit, and then it was like, but I never. Like, he told me that story about, Comedy Central not wanting him or whatever because he would just be another redneck. But he never said it with any sort of like, so I'm fucked or blah, blah, blah. He was just like, well, hell, I'm in the union. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. At all. I don't know if we lost Trae or not. But you know what? Let's take a quick break for our sponsors. We will be right back. Hey, y'all, did you know that me and Trae, this is Corey, by the way, wrote a book? We did. It's a travel guide. It's called Round Here and Over Yonder, and you can pre-order it right now. The link is in the description to this podcast. But if you're not going to click on the link in the description, that's totally cool. You can also pre-order it by going to CoreyRyanForrester.com or TraeCrowder.com. It's a super fun book. We talk about our experiences growing up in the South. We also talk about our experiences traveling to other parts of this country. And hey, we got HarperCollins to pay for us to go to the UK and write about that too. Round Here and Over Yonder, a hillbilly travel guide, is available right now wherever you get your books, or go to the little gimmick there in the description. We really appreciate y'all. Love you. See ya. Bye.
It's really awesome when you hear about somebody just not giving a shit, truly. I mean, for me anyway, because it's like, wow, that's a type of freedom I wish I had. But the Comedy Central, only being the game in town, he was in a different era in many ways, and not just the culture of the comedy catch, the culture of the industry itself. If he'd started later, the internet might have. There's more games in town now. I mean, sometimes it seems like there's too many because everything's kind of, there's too much or whatever. But it's unfortunate that there was only one or two ways to make it back then.
I mean, in his prime, him welding and fucking telling stories. Dude, he'd be fucking the most famous motherfucker out there.
Yeah, dude, if he had somebody that had tech savvy to hey, Ricky, tell your stories on your porch while you're welding and I'm going to film you and we're going to put them on YouTube. Or, hey, Ricky, I would like to do a podcast with you. I'll produce it. You just show up and fucking talk. Yeah, man. But like I said, by the time that stuff kind of came around, I think Ricky had already been like, well, fuck, it's done. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to weld. He also had to, raise his grandkids, which was around this time. He's kind of shooting off in comedy. Go ahead.
But dude, imagine he got to talk about that on a platform of the internet and connect. Because the way my mama feels about Leanne Morgan, if she had heard somebody doing comedy at Leanne Morgan's level, but also talking about working class stuff and raising your grandkids, because Leanne Morgan's family, and this is great, good for Leanne Morgan, is rich. You know what I mean? That's the one way my mama don't identify with Leanne Morgan. Dude, if he'd have had that opportunity, and it blew up, son.
Yeah, man, and it really does seem like a lot of times, the ones who would have hit the hardest, they didn't give a shit, or they don't have the thing in. Patrice had that whole thing of I'm not going to play any type of the game. I don't Patrice was big. We would all love to be.
He's bigger now, dude.
Yeah,
we think he's bigger than he was, truly, because we're comedy fans, and the internet has made him bigger.
Yeah,
but nobody outside of comedy knew who Patrice was. I mean, that was the sad thing. That was the tragedy.
Well, I only said that because the roasts were really popular, and he'd been on some roasts. But yes, you're right. I'm thinking as a comedian, like all the people I talked to knew who he was. But like,
well, you're right about the roast, but dude, that's right before he died. I mean, that's the other thing that sucks about that. If you do the math,
that's true. The roast and like Elephant in the Room and all that all was like right before he died. Like he was finally starting to kind of hit in a mainstream way, and then the sugar took him. Is what happened with Patrice.
But you'd hear a lot of people say like a lot of Patrice was his own worst enemy in certain ways, because like they were like, dude, the game wants you to play it. You just don't play the game. And like, Ricky was not, at the level of Patrice or whatever, but like there were just so many things that all of us are doing right now because we know we have to do it, not necessarily because we want to do it. We're just not half as funny as fucking Ricky. So it would work out more for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, like back then, like when we were all started, when we met at the Comedy Catch, like it really was. And it's so wild to think how simple it was. Like all your goals were kind of simple. It was just like write joke, get set. That's the only thing that you thought to do. Like there was no like, I've got to make an Instagram post. I've got to fucking, and like you were saying, like it's a blessing and a curse. Like you have all these opportunities to put yourself out there that we never had before. But with that becomes the requirement to like, no, you have to do all 9 of these things. Check this off before anything's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, dude, Trae, I'll obviously let you talk about your story and yourself. But when we got fired via email from the club in our town for about a day, I was like, what do I quit? And then the next day it was like, well, as soon as I can, I'm moving to New York. It was like that was the only option in my brain because it felt like it was at the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, yes, it's so weird. I was a huge comedy nerd and comedy fan even as a kid, like the whole time. I was obsessed with it. I used to listen to specials over and over and over. Like I bet I listened to, not watched, listened to an MP3 downloaded from Napster of Eddie Izzard's Dress to Kill. I bet I listened to that 75 times.
Dude, when he hits that chow. Woo, every time he says chow, dude.
Yeah, talking about Italians, how they're not fascists. They're all motorbikes. Chow.
Fascism took over because they didn't know what was going on. They were too busy fucking smoking.
What was the rest of that bit where he was talking about how Hitler did it wrong? Because why was it he said Hitler did it wrong?
He's like, if you kill, you kill your own people, we're sort of fine with that. Pol Pot killed 2 million of his own people. That's fine. Hitler killed the people next door. Oh, stupid man. And then there's a whole bunch more to that whole thing. He also talks about how talks about how many millions of people Hitler killed, and he's like, at a certain level, you're almost just kind of impressed with it. You're like, you killed how many people? I can't even get down to the gym. You must wake up very early in the morning. Anyway, I used to do like just that whole thing, start to finish. But anyway,
great.
I'm saying, it's not like I was very into stand-up comedy. Yet, when I went to the Side Splitters for the first time in like 2009 or something, so I started in 2010, and I went for the first time probably 2009 ish. And if I'm not mistaken, the lineup was, I believe, Jared Harris, who we all know, I think, was headlining that show. I don't know if it's the whole weekend or what.
Don't give a fuck. Good quality about him.
That's true. Yeah.
Or gives too much of a fuck about other stuff.
Dirt biking? Hell yeah.
So and this is also inside baseball. So much of this is not going to make sense to anybody but you guys, but whatever. Anyways, he was headlining, Sandy Goddard was featuring, and Riley Fox was hosting, right? That was the lineup of the first show I was at. And I remember like sitting in the crowd watching it and genuinely thinking to myself, like, man, if I could just do what that guy's doing, that guy being Riley, the host.
Yeah.
It's like, if I could host show, if I could like be the host at a comedy club, I think that would like scratch that itch for me. That'd be great. That'd be so awesome. Just being able to do that.
What would scratch it now, Trae?
Yeah, almost nothing.
Not
It's
being
all,
like Riley. I know
none
that.
of it means anything to me. Yeah, right. But,
Boy's got a God-sized hole in him.
yeah, absolutely. But then when I went to the first open mic a little bit after that, like Sandy Goddard was there, and I was like, holy shit, that's Sandy Goddard over there. You know what I mean? I was like, I was so intimidated by Sandy. I was like, that guy features, you know, like that's fucking crazy or whatever. And so yeah, so when we got fired from Side Splitters, Drew, because up until then, for the first 18 months in comedy, I didn't really do anything but Side Splitters, because I was like that. I mean, I've gone to the Comedy Catch too, but like just comedy clubs, because it was like, I just thought, I mean, where else would you go to do what else would you do other than just go to the comedy club? That's where comedy, you know what I'm saying? So like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I hadn't really done anything else. Then we got fired, and the same way, I was like, well, I don't know what the fuck up. So I started going to Chattanooga more, but I also started applying to those festivals that were popping up all over the place. And I started getting into those, and that it didn't, I guess it didn't really amount to much for me, but it was a lot of fun. I felt like I got better and felt like I was doing actual like comedy. That's where I met like Sam Talent. That's where I met Travis Irvine. You know, a lot of buddies of mine doing that whole thing. So getting fired from Side Splitters ended up hitting really, but yeah.
I mean, me too. And those festival circuits, that is like a changing culture too. You know, like that's something that like I was embarrassed to talk about in front of people like Sandy Goddard. You know, it's like, oh, you paid to do comedy. I get paid to do comedy.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, that was the change, you know?
Yeah.
I lost you for a second. You were embarrassed to talk about what at festival?
Just getting into festivals in front of people like Sandy, because it was like, oh, you paid to do comedy. I get paid to do comedy. But that was one of the main beginnings of the change of the culture.
Yeah, Michael very much. Michael being Michael Alfano, the owner of the Comedy Catch, who I love, very father-son type relationship. But DJ, can you imagine him fucking firing us around that time? Like what would have,
oh my
what
God,
would have happened to the grill? I can't, like he couldn't have fired if he hung on to Wade for a long time. And then Drew and Trae, two charming young men who aren't anything like me and Wade, get fired for. What was it? Fucking you didn't give somebody a birthday shot? What was it? Is that it?
So right before the actual thing, which was even dumber, what you're talking about happened. I was hosting the weekend before. There was this whole thing about comment cards at the end, and I didn't call the person up on stage that won, because they were literally sitting in the very front row, right in front of the stage. Everyone in the room could see them that they were right there, right beside me. So I gestured at them, handed them the ticket, said, "Give it up for Wanda, everybody." Everybody claps. And then the manager jumps my shit, because it was a rule that you're supposed to bring the person up on stage. And she was like, "How many times do I have to fucking tell you? What's your problem? Why?" You know, that shit had been building for a minute, because they had all these dumb rules like that. And I told her to give me my check and get the fuck out of my face. So that did happen, right? And then I left, because that was the last show of the weekend. That was Saturday night. Then on Wednesday, Drew was opening for a
Shane Mouse
show.
It was
I
Shane
thought it
Mouse.
was Mike Kaplan. I thought it was Mike Kaplan. Wasn't it Mike Kaplan?
It was Mike Kaplan. I did Shane Mouse the week before, and that's why the back-to-back was part of it. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Well, anyway, Drew was opening for Mike Kaplan at a bar show in Knoxville. I wasn't even on it. Drew posted about that on Facebook, and I shared his post, and me and Drew both got emailed at the same time saying,
"Dude, I bet I could find the email.
We were fired and not to come
Please
back."
do.
Because we were promoting other comedy shows that weren't at that club. But it was a Wednesday night. The club wasn't even open that night. Like, they literally weren't open. And so it was just, they were just trying to get rid of us anyway.
Me and DJ would literally puke in front of customers.
Oh yeah,
nothing to us at all.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
dude, we had to be church clean and all kinds of shit. And do the whole does anybody get married? Anybody getting divorced? Hey, this side of the room when I do this, fucking, all that terrible shit, all that like stereotypical terrible club MC shit.
Oh God,
Side Splitters, we had to do all of it.
I'll give it up to Michael. He did not make us do that shit. I mean,
I know.
He would, don't get me wrong. If we stepped out of bounds with hey, a host probably shouldn't be doing those jokes, he would let us know. But we would do them first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We would just,
Yeah.
it was kind of like, look, his whole thing was like, I mean, Michael's whole thing was like, I mean, look, I just want you to be fucking funny. So if you can go up there and be funny, you know, do your thing. But yeah, that's a fucking nightmare. But it's funny, man. Like bringing it back to what we were saying earlier, like when you were like, oh my God, there's Sandy Goddard. Like, bro, I remember that too. Cause for me and DJ, it was like, it was Chris Williamson or, you know, it was, Ricky and Ed. Like I remember I remember the first time I like talked to Ed, like he was smoking a cigar outside, just hanging out. And I was like, holy fuck, man. Like he was Rodney Dangerfield to me, sitting there smoking. I was like, this is fucking coolest shit ever. And then like 2 or 3 years later, me and Ed are painting houses together. You know, very glamorous life.
Yeah. Like 3 weeks after that, I saw, and just like saying, I always liked Sandy. Sandy hit for me. I just mean like he was, you know, he was a guy in he was a Knoxville comic, like, and I was looking at him like he had an HBO special or whatever is all I'm trying to say. But also like 3 weeks after that, the first open mic I walk in, holy shit, that's Sandy Goddard over there. Like 3 weeks later, I come in, he's sitting at the bar and he's like moaning. And I'm like, what happened? And the open mic was on Wednesday nights, which was also all you can eat wings at Hooters night. Right. And he was like, I just ate 75 wings at Hooters. And it came straight here. I was like, and you're gonna go on stage? He's like, yeah, you know, he went up there and had a good set or whatever. But it was like, it sort of demythologized him a little bit, you know, demystified him somewhat. I was like, oh, this guy's a fat sack of shit like I am. I get it.
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah. Did they do a tour, like an open mic tour?
Yes, that we all thought, holy shit, that was we
Yeah.
thought that to go on tour meant to make it. We didn't realize that, like, well, shit, anybody could just pay to drive themselves with a camera.
Yeah.
All right, dude. I remember like a detailed email, Trae. Am I wrong about that? Or that they were complaining? Maybe that was a Facebook message.
No, I definitely. Oh, well, yeah, I guess it could have been. I thought it was an email too. It might have been a Facebook.
The
message,
letting go was simply, Drew, I will not require your services for the weekend of September. I was already booked.
God
and
damn.
then Trae, you forwarded me because I sent it to you and you replied with yours. Mine didn't list the name. It just said the weekend of 26th to the 28th. You got fired from Harlan Williams for that weekend coming up. So I got fired in September and you got fired for like a week and a half later. And then you sent it to me at that time. Your entire email was whatever to me.
Yeah.
We will no longer be requiring your services. It's such a goddamn unnecessarily formal way to talk to two open micers. Like, dude, I wrote, dang, what I do now. And she wrote back, I would be more than happy to discuss in person, but I will not be arguing with anyone via email. And I wrote back, oh, I didn't know it was an argument. I assumed the hypnotist didn't need an MC. Hilarious.
I got fired. You can't open for this hypnotist.
Me and DJ could go on stage and accidentally say a racial slur, and Mike would be like, maybe take next week off. You know, maybe just chill out and, come back. Come back when Gregory's here.
Well, I might have got promoted at Side Splitters if I had done that. I feel like Trae, she sent me a Facebook response to whatever I promoted that was like the gripe, but then in the official email it was very HR, which is so great.
Thinking about, like, when you said Sandy Goddard talking about eating wings before going to the open mic, that like sent just a floodgate of memories back to me of like the nights we would do the grill shows and like how horrible we would all treat our bodies and how bad we would feel afterwards. But also going, man, we had a lot of fucking fun. Like, for all of y'all, what percentage of you misses those times versus the percentage of you that's like, I'm so fucking glad that it's over? Like, what's the balance there?
Man, I don't know.
I would definitely wish I still got that feeling. Like, I still wish I got that feeling.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know.
I agree with that. There was
bullshit though.
There was a lot about it that was more like, because another thing y'all have heard me talk about that I think is true that I grapple with a lot of times is like doing the type of shit that I do, same type of shit I do back then. But back then it felt like
you were a renegade.
I was a renegade. I was a maverick. It was ballsy and edgy and that type of shit. And I, not to fucking jerking myself off over it, but I loved that. I was
Me too.
Yeah.
and like making that shit work in front of those crowds, which I often would, and like killing and having all that. I just felt, I felt like I was like, dude, I fucking crush at this shit. Like that's how I felt about it all the time. I was like, I'm really good at this. I'm gonna figure this whole thing out, whatever. And now it's like, I still love doing it, and I still like hit at it, but it's become like
it's a job.
Kind of.
And,
not fully, but it's that, and also to finish that first thing I said about how the same type of shit when I did it back then coming up in the South, it felt ballsy and edgy. Now, because of the crowd I have, it feels kind of the exact opposite. It feels like I'm pandering a lot of times.
Yeah.
Even though I haven't changed really. No. But it's so some of that stuff I miss, and also us, sure. we were all we'd all like just met, just become friends. We're fucking partying hard and all that shit. That was all fun as hell. So I miss all that. But it also, like, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't like snap my fingers and trade places with my old self right now or nothing. You know what I mean? Like, it's nice getting paid money to do this instead of like giggle juices or whatever and fucking, not having to wake up and go to the goddamn DOE at 6:30 in the morning after doing all that shit for a weekend, so.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about the stuff we did in Hope? Yeah, Hope was a good thing.
Hope used to hit,
great.
yeah.
But I think about some of the shit that we did. And I'm not talking about the drugs, although that too, I don't know how I did so many of those all the time. I genuinely don't. But like, I think of shit that we used to do, and I'm almost like impressed. I'm like, I don't think I could pull that off now. Like when we would do Black Liver shows, and like we're all in different cities, and we would just meet up like the day of the thing and be like, all right, here's fucking 5 sketches. We're just gonna do this shit. And
that shit was crazy.
We'd murder at that now, in my opinion.
People loved it, dude. Like, Janet Williams called me the other day, and she was like, it was the first time she met y'all or whatever, and she was like, those fucking sketches y'all used to do were great. And I was like, Janet, do you know that, like, for the most part, we kind of never rehearsed them except for the day of, and barely then either. We kind of made it up. She's like, that's fucking crazy. I was like, yeah, I don't know, but I think that's like, because we were only people who are like insanely hungry and hopeful can pull that. Do you think we could still pull that shit off, Drew?
100%.
I guess we did it
maybe we would need to get back on the road for a little while and be around each other. But I think part of what was going on, dude, we talked every fucking day, man. Right. And I don't miss that at all, but I do. I mean, we still do. But what was happening is we were bringing what we were already doing to the stage, and also appreciate the way you told the story. But I do think we didn't rehearse it all, but we wrote we wrote a lot, and we would do new drafts. Yeah. So I think what was happening is just like we would talk every day online. We knew how each other's. We can finish each other's sentences type thing. So I do think we could pull it off. It would require maybe some more time around each other to get back in the groove, but I think we'd be better. And honestly, dude, when we like do the Comedy Central stuff and stuff like that, by the middle of the day, I think we're funnier and rewriting the lines anyway. So I think that shit's in us, man. Honestly, we should have a fucking TV show. That's what I think. I think we were right back then. I think Hollywood don't know shit. Fuck them. Yeah. Fuck them for what they did to Cousin Ricky. Fuck them for what they're doing. That's how I feel.
Hell yeah, brother.
I'm on strike.
But I remember, I remember even when it was happening, and I didn't think about it this way at the time, but I thought about it later. So like Corey's saying, we'd do these like variety shows where we do live sketches, stand-up comedy. We did songs, we did improv, we did all this type of shit. And like he said, they lived in Chattanooga, me and Drew lived in Knoxville, whatever. We had a text thread going where we'd plan all this shit out, but we wouldn't physically see each other. We wouldn't practice it. We just get together and just do it. And I remember one time,
statute of limitations on the text thread.
Yeah. One time Corey, very ravenly, the day of the show was like, well, my sister wrecked her lawnmower. I can't make it, or whatever happened. And so Corey wasn't coming now, last minute. And we asked Jeff Blank to do the show, our buddy Jeff Blank to do the show with us instead. And so he did. And we had improv games and stuff, and that's fine. But I had also written this sketch, right? And Corey had a part in this sketch. So Jeff gets there, and I'm telling him, like, yeah, we're going to do this, we'll do this, whatever. And I pulled the sketch out, I had a script for it, and I was like, here, and you'll do this part. And, like, please understand, Jeff is right in this scenario, right? So, like, I hand him this, and, whatever, and I'm like, so, yeah, you do this. And he's like, wait, what? He's like, we do this whole thing, like, on the stage in like 15 minutes. And I was like, yeah. And you'll be that guy. So the concept is I'm doing that, whatever. And he's like, dude, I can't do that. He's like, I'm not I can't do that and like get these lines right. What are you talking about? And I was like, genuinely, I was like, I don't understand what the problem. Okay, bro. All right, fine. Guess we just won't do it. But like in retrospect, what an insane request to make of somebody. Like if we had cue cards or something, that'd be different. But there was nothing like that. I was just like, okay, get off book in 8 minutes. Meet me out there with this dress on, or whatever we're gonna do, And he was just like, yeah, buddy, I don't think I can do that. Like, all right. Well, we used to do that type of shit all the time, man.
Yeah, and knowing the lines wasn't the most important thing. You know what I mean? The gist of it was good, but yeah, that is quite an insane ask of someone. But I guess between our chemistry and methamphetamine, you could make it work.
I was trying to find the picture from that night. I thought I had it. It doesn't matter. Jeff is standing there, or I am, I don't remember, and one of us is behind the other, reaching our arms through, and is feeding the other one beer. That was part of the sketch and drinking game. And like in some ways, you didn't need to rehearse that. Just fucking halfway through, pour beer all over my face.
Oh, yeah. That was the one where somebody else was the arms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We did those. We did like improv games too that, didn't require. It's not that everything we did, most sane people would rehearse, but we did do also things that sane people would rehearse and we'd do them without rehearsing. So
we had a full wrestling sketch that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trae was Hacksaw Jim Duggan
with costume. Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I think about that because we did that at the Comedy Catch too, and I swear to God, I like woke up from a dream. Trae, you remember in The Void, the short that you did where you were talking about how The Void was mentioning things that you had said in 8th grade and stuff, like bringing on your depression? I like woke up out of a dream, and I swear to God, the first thought I had was, I didn't play the Ultimate Warrior insane enough that time that we did the sketch. Like I remembered it and I was like, you fucking piece of shit. Knowing that no one's thought about it since, but I was like, you just really didn't play him crazy enough. And I was so fucking mad at myself. Did DJ die?
Yeah, it looks like we lost DJ now. I think maybe he'll be back in a minute. What do you this is I feel bad for you, Joe, having to navigate all these technicalities here. This episode.
Listen, it happens. I'm just happy because before we recorded this, I thought my computer had exploded for good. So I'm actually in a pretty good mood right now.
It also bums me out because I was just about to try to, because I knew we were going to be talking about Cousin Ricky and comedy and stuff, but I had a thing that since DJ was joining us, I wanted to talk about that had nothing to do with any of that. But if DJ gone, I don't want to do it. I want to wait till he come back on to do it because it's evergreen topic and it's a very DJ type subject. So
right.
Hopefully he just gets fixed, but it ain't looking like it. So anyway,
what are you gonna do? The past, huh?
The past.
Rest in peace, Cousin Ricky and DJ's feed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember.
It does suck. Take care of your heart, y'all, because your heart it'll explode.
But that's also like Michael, the owner of the Comedy Catch, like you said, like whatever his, club ownery type idiosyncrasies he might have, dude. The fact that he first of all, worked us also too, the guys from not me in particular. I remember he told me after that shit happened with the Side Splitters, he was like, "Don't worry about it. This is your home club now." And I'm like, "But this is 2 hours away." But thank you though, whatever. But the fact that he booked us to do that variety show I'm talking about on his that was there Sunday night at the Comedy Catch. That was the show. There wasn't a headliner that we were opening for. Nope. You bought a ticket to come to the Comedy Catch on Sunday night. The show was us in our fucking drug fueled lunacy on stage, dressed up like pro wrestlers and rapping and doing all kinds of crazy shit.
And we so fucking tickets, bro.
And it you mostly worked too. Like, you know, people generally liked it. It was fun. But
Also,
that shit was.
Social media was a thing back then, but it was like we didn't all have our own Twitter personalities and Instagram shits and stuff. But like, I mean, we were just selling tickets word of mouth, I guess, through the people that used to see us in the grill, huh?
I was just saying, I think you and DJ had a following in Chattanooga back then. I can remember doing shows with DJ Dog, and motherfuckers had to touch him. I mean, you know, it might have only been 50 or 60 people, but like after the show, they wanted to hold him. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he was, to use the phrase he used about Cousin Ricky, he was a working class hero to them and still is. I also want to say, I think we're gamers, and like, I don't know. Part of it was what you just said. That was such a big deal to me.
Yeah.
I could not fuck that up.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're talking
about. Yeah, but shit keeps fucking up.
That Sunday night show.
Yeah, is that what you mean? Like,
the catch, Michael, his belief in us, the fact that he told me the same thing about it being my home club. Frankly, DJ and Corey, you know, just like I was transitioning into being your colleague, but I was like, these fucking dudes are really funny assholes and who are mean to me. So I had to like nail that. Like the whole thing felt super important. It felt like, and maybe this is true on some level, even if it's just for me internally and mentally, it felt like this has to go well or I'm going to quit doing comedy. Like this has to go well.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, like everything back then felt like, you know, because I can imagine, like, it sounds so stupid now for you to say, when Bridget sent me that email, I was like, well, what do I do now? But like, dude, I mean, if Michael at one point had told me I couldn't do stand up at the Comedy Catch, I too would have been like, but that's where you do it, you know? Like,
I mean, I moved.
Yeah, like when Michael wasn't, you know, like he featured me some, but then I'd go through droughts and I was like, well, I'm not funny anymore. He hates me. I'm done. It's over, you know? And like, it's so crazy to think about that now because how many people make it in comedy now without really having to go through the system how it used to be. Like, I mean, I know that in certain parts it's still like host, feature, headliner, but like that was the only way back then. There was no such thing as like, go get a bunch of Instagram followers, make popular videos and shit, and then you can kind of like bypass a little of that. It was like, if you don't work it through the system, you're fucked. And if the club owner of the place that's next to your house tells you no, then like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Right. I mean, yeah. And that's like, and you know, a lot of people thought that I or we or, you know, me especially had done exactly that at the, you know, when I first went viral and everything, which is why it always bothered me because I agree with you. Meaning like, you know, people not knowing that I had been doing stand up for 6 years at that time and had been, you know, been a house MC and fired from that and had featured and done festivals and all that type of shit and fucking bombed at biker bars and all that other stuff, you know, for years before any of that happened, which why some people, some comics take that personally, that whole like, you know, TikTokers who get a big following and can sell tickets. And I go back and forth on them. Some of them are like ones that are like comics who just also do internet stuff that they hit at it. Obviously I have no problem with that at all. That's what I am. But like, but some of those people, dude, so I'll try not to be like that because I know people put that on me and it bothered me because I'll be like, they didn't, you know, that wasn't fair for me to be lumped in with that, categorized that way. But some people I see and I just know that they are one of those. And some of the things I see, dude, I just like, it sincerely blows my mind. It really does. That this is working to the extent it is. It just, I cannot make myself wrap my head around it. Like sometimes, like without saying the dude's name, because I wouldn't even be able to tell you his name anyway. And also, I don't know if he does live shows, but he's like, you can find articles written about him. It calls him like a TikTok comedian. So comedian is part of his title, and he's like on TikTok or whatever. And his whole thing, right, is he'll take an already popular TikTok video, right, and he'll insert himself making a joke somewhere in the middle of it, right? I got no problem with that as a practice, okay? Like, in fact, that kind of Drew does that with like legal videos, and that shit hits for me. Like, but the point is, the things he says are like
great.
Not even aren't that great. Like, I'll give you one example, right? And this perfectly illustrates the types of like jokes he makes or whatever that he inserts into these videos. He did a video once. It was like this dude, this little skinny white trash fella in a kitchen smacking his old lady's ass, right? He smacks her on the ass. Then the camera zooms out and you see it's not an ass, it's her big fat ass belly, right?
Don't hit.
And he was right. So he was slapping his girlfriend's big fat belly, right? That was the video. Okay. That was the original video. That video's playing. It zooms out. You see that it's her big fat belly that he slaps. Now, old boy cuts in at this moment and goes, I swear to God, verbatim, he goes, "Hoo-wee, I ain't seen a twist like that since The Sixth Sense." And then it cuts off. And that
sells out shows.
That's the whole thing. Like,
but is it stand up good?
It can't. That's kind of. It surely can't be.
Not yet.
Before Drew said that, I didn't even know. I didn't even know if he was doing live shows or not. That's. But like that type of thing, and this dude's got millions of followers, and I'm like, what? How? And
I don't have a problem.
Right, here's one for you though. Oh, sorry.
No. I'll say that. No. I don't have a problem with the followers part. Here's my thing is like, here's what bothers me. I get more mad at like, it's comedy clubs that I get mad when they're in. Like, and I get mad at comedy club bookers. Like, if one of these people can sell tickets, it's like, hey, go rent out a theater and do it. But when they go into the comedy clubs, then it's like you're taking away a regular headliner that normally would have came that has one of those 52 weeks. You just took that out of his pocket. And also it's like, it says comedy club. That's supposed to be for comedians. And then when these people keep getting in it, everybody goes, oh, well, this is what comedy is now. And it bastardized the whole thing.
All right. Yeah. So here's one, and I'll say his name because he'll never see this. And also because I'm not going to say anything super disrespectful because the culture was changing from what it was to what it became when you went through that, Trae, and you were like at the forefront of a lot of that. It's changing again with people sort of starting on the internet, knowing that that's like the way. So I'll say the guy's name because I'm going to say some things that are like respectful about this dude. Uncle Laser is a comic who lives in Knoxville, who's like a TikTok dude. He's good looking, but he looks like your uncle who like did nothing but get pussy and drive fast cars. He's in good shape. He's like 35-ish, 40, good looking, wears wild outfits. And then like, that's kind of what he does. He'll be like, these are fucking snake skin goddamn rattlers, baby. And just like, he's just like a character.
Curly hair?
Got curly hair.
I love that dude.
So I went and watched one of his stand-up videos when he came across my page recently because I heard he was starting to do stand-up in Austin, and some people were saying different things, some good, some bad, whatever, right? Like a couple eye rolls, but whatever. So I went and watched it. The dude...
Hey, I know you don't care, Drew, but if you're talking about who I think you're talking about, there's actually a fair to middling chance he will hear this because I'm pretty sure he lives in Austin with a dude who opens for me and who... so
fair enough.
Small world. But anyway,
well,
go ahead. I don't know that guy.
As far as I know, he's not somebody who's been doing stand-up for a decade.
Right.
If he is, this is going to sound insulting, but I don't think he is. I think he's someone who's been doing stand-up less than that, who got big on TikTok. You watch his stand-up, there's jokes there. Some of the jokes are great. Some of the jokes are fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, my point is, I think what these clubs are dealing with now, Corey, is like some of these guys and gals can sell 1 billion tickets and they are getting better and they are trying. And it's like, I don't think he'd be offended if he heard this. Uncle Laser's not as good at fucking stand-up comedy as John Mulaney.
Right.
But he's getting better you know what I'm saying? Like there's jokes, there's work. The dude's yes. And like, I don't necessarily blame a club for going, I guess that guy's going to sell 1 billion fucking tickets.
I guess something can both suck and I get it at the same time, and that's probably just what this is. Like,
it's funny you said it's not the followers that you have a problem with. It for me, it is the beginning of it. Like, meaning like I'll watch some of these things again. I don't know the guy Drew's talking about, but like the guy I was talking about,
he cracks me up.
I'll watch stuff like that, and I'm just flabbergasted. Like I'm just like, this is millions of followers worthy, like making one 5-second joke that's like barely even a joke, like the best twist since The Sixth Sense. You know what I'm saying? It's like a,
and really the funny part is the video, not you.
Right, exactly. And it's like that shit, I can't help it. It just drives me up the wall. I've found, though, from having my own children, and I'm not saying it's the case with that guy, but a lot of the times I have found, if you see something on the internet and you are like, genuinely, you're like, who is this for? 3 million followers? Who the fuck is this for? 9 times out of 10, the answer is children. Who are stupid, right?
Right. Tickets.
But yes, who are very, very, very lucrative, right? Like you can make a shitload of money catering to kids, but a lot of the stuff, but like I watch stuff that they watch like streamers and shit like that. And I'll watch it and I'm like, this dude ain't even making no jokes. He's not like even trying, like he's literally just being loud. He's just making loud noises while playing Minecraft. Like what the fuck is it? Like I'll do this in front of the boys too. Like I'll be like, you realize this is low effort garbage, right? You know this sucks, right? Like they get all defensive about it and shit. But anyways, it's just an ongoing thing with me. It's a whole thing. I should probably be in therapy for all that specifically.
Either that or start doing it, man. If you can't beat them.
Well, he does do his version of it, because that's what I'm getting at. It's like the world is completely changed. And I only brought that guy up as an example of somebody who's like, if that dude keeps selling tickets, he'll be really good at stand and keeps working like he's clearly working. He'll be great in 5 years because he's funny and he's getting the opportunity. So it's like, how do you, I think there's a bitterness sometimes that comes in with folks around our age of like, shit, we didn't start out doing that. So like we're seeing people who aren't as good as us at stand-up comedy selling out these shows, but it's almost like in some ways more painful when you're like, God damn, but they know how to tell a joke. Like that sucks. Right. It almost like feels like, oh, stand-up's obsolete now. That's now just a tool that you have to be able to do this job so you can do a live show, but it's not the job anymore. And I don't like that. I don't know if I have blame for anybody, but I don't like that because stand-up is the art form that I love. I feel like a silent film star and the talkies are here and I've got a weird voice. So I can't do it. Like I'm still a great actor, but my voice it doesn't match me. I used to play tough guys and I talk like this or whatever the case is. It's passed me by. It feels like.
Yeah, I wish I knew enough about that era of film to make a reference right now to some guy who was a very early talkies star who people are like, this guy hits, and then just a few short years later, like, that guy never hit. These people hit. And I would say that I was that guy. But anyway.
There's the lady in Citizen Kane that they were portraying that happening to, where she was like a super big silent star. And like huge, like one of the biggest silent stars, and they were like put her in the talkie, and she was like, "Hi, my name is blah, blah, blah," and she sounded horrible, and they were just like, whatever.
They also did that in that was in that happens in Citizen Kane.
They're portraying this woman that happened to. Like there's a woman there it's supposedly
that was also. Did you watch the new Downton Abbey movie?
I haven't seen it yet. No, I haven't.
Plot point in the Downton Abbey movie that exact thing happens.
That's a great way to put it, Drew, because I do feel like that we are like tweeners. Like we're like Generation X in that way. Like we're just this middle thing that like this. We started one way, and then right in the middle of our thing,
everything changed.
We weren't born into it, so we're having to get used to it, and we're not as fucking good at it, and we don't understand it. But we know that like we have to fight every day being a papaw, because it's like you saw all the people before us who were like, I'm not getting into podcasts, or I'm not getting. We've seen all them. We're like, I can't be that person, and now we're like at the crossroads of like, do I just go full papaw and say fuck it, or do I go, man, this is what you have to do now? And I don't know.
Well, if and when I go full papaw, which is coming, I'm going into it like knowing it. You know what I mean? I mean, that's my only thing. I don't want to be this guy who's like, man, fuck it. I'll just be like, yeah, I'm not gonna try.
Yeah, right. Just get way better at the things that you are good at.
Don't worry about it. I mean, Stuart Huff kind of comes to mind, where he did a podcast and stuff, but I never felt like Stuart was like giving up or like confused about the situation. He was like, yeah, that's what the business is now. And I'm not going to do it. And I like my job and my life, and I have a kid, and he's awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I'm like lucky that I genuinely enjoy doing podcasts, which podcasts aren't a new thing. But you know, I do like doing that. I do like making the occasional video, but like, I do think that I'm at a point where it feels like I've accepted all the new things I can accept. And so when there's a real, like, when there's a new thing, I'm gonna be like, I can't do it. Like, maybe I'll try, but I don't know. Like, I just got good at all the other shit, and I don't know if I got room in my heart, you know? I don't know.
The name of the game is getting fans, and I guess
that's
is
right.
what they want.
Stand-up now is a way to monetize popularity, not monetize jokes. It used to be you were popular because you were good at telling jokes. Now you're popular, and you're like, well, shit, I got to get money from these people, so I'll make them pay to see me tell jokes. So whatever, you know,
well,
it is. We're fine. So
we are fine.
Thank you all for listening to. Wait, hold on. Trae, where are you going to be again? In Kentucky?
Kentucky this weekend, then the Midwest, then the Northeast, and a whole bunch of places after that. TraeCrowder.com.
Drew?
New York this Sunday. I canceled my Asheville gigs. I still have Austin gigs coming up, and I just announced Atlanta in October.
Oh, dude, speaking of Asheville, this is way off, a ways down the road, but December 28th, I'm going to be at the Gray Eagle in Asheville, get a little Christmas in Asheville shit, so that's fun. PartTimeFunnyMan.com. Thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and skew.
I'm the only man in America that lives in a haunted trailer. Think about that one for a minute. You've never seen that in a horror movie, have you? It's always haunted houses, never a damn haunted trailer, because I've got the only one. And I don't know how that trailer got haunted. I bought the damn thing new. Only thing I figure, the guy putting the roof on in the factory got drunk, fell off, was killed, and his soul rode out in my trailer to make my life a living hell. Because it's haunted, it is. I've heard so many scary sounds in that trailer, I've almost quit shooting at them. We first moved in, a door closed by itself, I'd blow it off the hinges. My wife said, you can't shoot a ghost. I said, hell no, but I'll keep him on his toes around here.